I've got a few. We've got a psychologist who works here, and he has a few questions for you. And
Oh,
they're going to be more incisive than mine, doubtless. They're a bit more broad as well, if that's okay.
sure.
So the first thing he asks is, what do you believe that people get wrong about the evolution of human consciousness?
Well, if I am able to answer that question in any intelligent way, then I shouldn't be sitting with you, and I should be heading to Stockholm to pick up my Nobel Prize.
I thought you were going to
So,
say something like that.
so I think when you said there, the questions are going to be rather vague. That's kind of the $64,000 question, right? We
Yeah,
hardly know how to model the neural substrates of consciousness. So to link it to evolution, it's too big a question. So with complete epistemic humility, I say, I don't know.
fair enough. So, what lesson from evolutionary psychology do you think is most relevant to the modern day? And I guess this kind of ties in with the previous one. So, what is it that you think that evolutionary psychology can really bring to people that they might well need to know?
Right. No, that's a great question. It is broad, so I'll try to tackle it maybe in
Sure.
different ways. Let's suppose I wish to introduce a new product on the market. Okay. I'm going to answer this in one of several ways. So I'm
Hmm.
going to answer it in different domains. So if I want to introduce a product, like here's an example. Romance novels are largely consumed by women around the world.
Hmm.
There is no culture that exists where romance novels are not almost exclusively read by women in cultures that are grossly different from each other. So that is a universal fact. Okay. Now, you can have a progressive company, and I'm basing this on an actual example, that comes along and says, we want to come up with a more progressive line of romance novels where we don't promote toxic masculinity as the archetype of the male hero. Because the male hero in every romance novel is the exact same guy. He is tall, he is a prince, he's also a neurosurgeon, he's risk taker, he wrestles alligators on his six pack and then he wins. He bites off its head, but he could only be tamed by that one good woman. I just
Yeah.
described every single romance novel that's ever been written.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
women love these as well, which is the
exactly,
thing that the
exactly,
left must hate the most.
exactly. So if you want to understand, women's evolved psychology and evolved fantasies, then study the male archetype that is depicted in those products, right?
Hmm.
So this company was progressive. They wanted to come up with a new line of uh, non-toxic masculine male as the protagonist, a guy who maybe has a pear-shaped body, maybe has a nasal voice, maybe is unemployed and plays video games all day, maybe sucks his thumb while watching Bridget Jones' Diary and so on. So very, very gentle, very sensitive. He plays with logarithmic abacus tables. So it's all really super sweet, real geek, right? Guess what happened to that product line? It didn't sell well because there's this little thing called human nature whereby you can't impose your will because then tabula rasa, the consumer will fall in line, right?
Mm.
The reason why McDonald's sells so well is not because Justin Timberlake sings a jingle in it. It's because they deliver fatty, high caloric, tasty foods to people at a cheap price. It doesn't take much to teach my taste buds to respond to that. I'm already equipped to be attracted to such tastes, right?
Yeah.
So
It's almost like the product was tailored for what I already am, rather than the product having a kind of revolutionary intention behind it. As in,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So now what I just did is I answered your question using the first example, which is in the consumer setting, a great marketer is one that doesn't go outside of the boundaries of human nature.
Mhm.
A good marketer is effectively an applied evolutionary psychologist, right? Whether he knows it or not, he or she is applying principles that are consistent with evolutionary psychology. Let me give you a second example from politics and economics or
Mm.
economic systems. To go back to E.O. Wilson, whom I mentioned earlier when I talked about Consilium, E.O. Wilson, in referring to socialism slash communism, said the following: great idea, wrong species. Why did he say that? Because he is an entomologist. He studies social ants. Social ants have the following social system: everybody is equal, less this one queen to whom we bequeath, if you'd like, we we give the reproductive interest only to her, and the rest of us are absolutely equal. So in the utopia of Marxism and socialism and communism, where we're all equal, kumbaya, that's a great system if I were a social ant. It turns out, though, that humans don't abide by the system. They are hierarchical. Some of us work harder, some of us are lazier, some of us are taller, shorter, fatter, more ambitious, less ambitious, and therefore we assort in life's grand competition. So if you try to impose equality to a hierarchical species, it doesn't end well. And oh, by the way, we've got 1,000 cases where societies try to impose this, and it didn't work. Oh, but occasional cortex, I call her occasional cortex, AOC, tells you, no, but bruh, that wasn't true socialism.
Yeah.
The 1,000 cases wasn't true. If we implement it now under the Green New Deal, we will have the utopia. So whether you're developing products or you're creating songs or you are building political and economic systems, you can't do so outside the boundaries of what human nature allows you, because then you end up with really bad consequences, whether your company goes bankrupt or hundreds of millions of people die because of your utopian idiotic ideals. It doesn't end well. You can't understand all this if you don't understand evolutionary psychology.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.